Priyanka Chopra, apparently everybody hates her.
I don't like her as a person. Again, a lot of kids come to school saying what their parents have said, so people are so afraid to open. Hi, Sylvie. Sylvie joined us.
So when I was in 6th grade, I had a unibrow, and somebody made fun of me for it.
I would have murdered them.
And so I went home that night, and whenever I had questions to you, like, what is Easter? Like, is it really about a bunny? It's apparently not about a bunny, everybody. What happened when a brown boy joined your life? This week, we're going to be talking about how I'm not Indian enough and I'm not American enough. What do you want from me? What am I doing wrong here? This episode goes out to all those Asian Americans out there. Make sure you stay tuned to the very end because we have a question from you. With that, let's get into this, Half Past Crew. Welcome to
Half Past Cha.
Guys, welcome back to another episode. We're so happy you're here. My name is K2.
My name is Hallie.
If you can already tell, we're an interracial couple. That's what we talk about here on this podcast. I'm Indian.
I'm super white.
And we don't only talk about being an interracial couple, we also talk about relationships. And we get questions from you guys because you guys go to www.halfpastcha.com to submit your own questions and stories. We release new podcast episodes every Monday at 7 a.m. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Like this video if you're on YouTube. If you're watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you give us 5 stars and follow the podcast so then you can follow along with us. All right. Settle in. Get cozy. Grab your cha, everybody. And let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about you a lot. So if you don't like Suketi, you should probably get out of this episode.
Yeah, this is going to be a terrible episode if you don't like me. We're going to be talking about how being an Asian American, Indian American, Pakistani American is very difficult. It's not the easiest thing in the world because if it's hard to fit in on either side. One side's always like, oh, you're not Indian enough, and the other side's like, oh, you're not American enough, and so like, where do we sit?
Why do you feel that judgment? Can you give a specific example? We're going to talk about it more, but why do you feel like? Explain from both perspectives. Why do you feel like you get that judgment?
So on the Indian side, for example, my Gujarati's not perfect, right? And so like if I'm with a bunch of people who speak perfect Gujarati, they make fun of the way I speak, right? And so like that doesn't make me feel good. And then when I'm with a bunch of American people, your kind, Hallie, the whites out there.
I apologize on behalf of the whites.
And so it's
I really am sorry. I'm just kidding. Everyone.
Whenever I'm interacting with those people, they sometimes will be like, hey, why do I have to take off my shoes in the house? And I'm like, bro, it's an Asian thing. Get your shoes off my floor, you know? And, that doesn't make me feel good. That's a very light example, but we can go into more details. This is what I'm talking about, how there are certain things, cultural aspects on either side of being Indian and being American. The people who are both, the people who have come from India, who have come from Asia or Europe, who have kind of ingrained themselves into American culture, it's hard to fit in because the people that you do find here are sometimes super Indian still or super Asian still, and then there's those people who are the Asian Americans, and then there are the people who are just American, right? And so it's a tough journey for the people who come here that are kind of ingrained in both the cultures.
I would say it's difficult to find your people as well, right? Like,
yeah.
No matter what, you're probably going to find people that judge you. But when you find your solid group of friends and people that don't judge you, or people that maybe are in your situation where like they were born in India, but they grew up here and like maybe they feel the same way. So what I'm saying is it's important to find that community of people that are not going to make you feel like an outsider. They're not going to make you feel like, oh, you're not Indian enough because you were born in India, but you grew up here and your Gujarati is terrible. And, like you don't do certain things or whatever it may be. But yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say like the one example on the Indian side of things is like when we were in college, I don't know if you knew, like there was like the South Asian group, right?
Yeah.
and
Was
like
it
they
the
would get
Daisy
together,
Jags?
something like that. And I don't know. It just felt like when I went to talk to him, it felt like I was the outsider. It's like I was the American.
Really? What made you, like, why? Why did you feel that way?
Just like some of the things they talked about, some of the things that they knew that I didn't know. And I'm like, wow, am I even Indian at this point? Like,
You say that a lot. Like, a lot of,
and so I don't know
we have a
why.
lot of friends that I'm not going to say they're more Indian than you. Like,
They
they
are.
just are. No, they're the right way to say that, I would say, is they're more maybe traditional than you are.
They
Would you agree?
just know more than I know, I guess. Let me give you some perspective, though. I've been in America for 24 years out of the 27 years I've been alive.
Well, yeah, obviously, like, your perspective is going to be different on things than somebody who's lived there 20 out of the 27 years they've been alive, right?
Yeah.
So it's much different. And you also can't beat yourself up over that because, and I feel like you do that a lot. And I don't think that's fair because, I mean, I could say that in the sense that, like, I don't go to church every Sunday, right? But, you know, like we've talked about religion before, where, like, that's something that on my own I become familiar with, I've come to terms with. Like, I do my own thing, right? So I'm not going to have other Christians come to me and be like, oh, well, you don't go to church? Like, you're the worst kind of person there is, and blah, 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 blah. And, like, not making me feel religious enough or Christian enough. Like, that's not fair to beat yourself up over that, right? Yeah. So I think it's the same thing. I mean, they're not the same thing at all, but you can't beat yourself up over the fact that somebody might make you feel less Indian than them just because maybe their Gujarati is better, or they know what tradition to do, or they go to temple.
Yeah. Yeah, when you bring up religion, the other part of it was whenever I was growing up, a lot of people knew what the Bible was. Like, I knew of it, and like everybody knows of the Bible. Everybody knows, like, oh, this is like a person, like Christian faith. And growing up in America, being Hindu, it was really tough because it's like all I know is being Hindu, and all everyone around me knows is being Christian or being Catholic. And so that was tough for me because everybody was like I couldn't connect with them on that subject. Everyone's like, oh, like, what are you doing on Sunday? And I'm like, not going to church like you are, right? Like, it's different. And so that was always like a disconnect from everybody around me and myself.
Well, yeah, we live in Indiana, and the majority of the population here is white American.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine, especially growing up, having that disconnect with the group of people that you probably were closest to, because there weren't a whole lot of other Indian Americans in our school system, really. I mean, not a ton. I mean, it's changed now, obviously. Punjabi is a language offered at the high school we went to, which is crazy.
That's insane.
So, like, obviously the population has grown much more. But what I'm saying is that would be so challenging to not, and it's already hard enough to be a kid anyways, right? Like, you're figuring out so much about yourself, and you're meeting all kinds of people. You're going through school, and kids can be bullies. And I just can't imagine going through that and also not having my people and not being like, oh, I have these Indian friends that make me feel Indian and included. You didn't have that, really.
Yeah. The issue that, like, growing up, like, the first issue that I ran into was my name. People didn't know how to say my name. So that made me feel like I was an outsider. And I know there's a huge thing about my name in the internet, especially TikTok. Everybody says that I don't say my name right. My name is Saketu, but Suketu is how you say it in Gujarati, and I always pronounce it Saketu because that's what I grew up saying. But guess what? People didn't even say that. I was called Saketru. That was a big one.
Saketru?
Yeah, Saketru. It was huge. I don't know why.
Where did the R come from?
I have no idea. And then there was Saketo.
You do like toes.
People used to call me Sagetu. That was very, very mean. And that wasn't the best thing to call me. It sucked. And then the last name was, what was it? It was something to do. Oh, Suki. People used to call me Suki a lot. I don't know why.
Why?
I'm not sure. But anyways, nobody could like just say my name right. Even like I was that one kid in class that the teacher was like, and then I would just say, like the teacher would take a pause, like I just knew. I was like, it's a K2. And I said it out loud because I just knew the teacher wasn't going to say it right. And so that was like an area where I felt really Indian with everybody who was, had easy names and stuff like that.
That must have been really hard for you.
Yeah. It wasn't, I mean, looking back, it's like, wow, I can't, like, it did affect me, but in the moment, like, I didn't know any better, right? Like, that was just normal.
Yeah, but now thinking about
Yes.
it with your adult perspective,
It's different. Yeah.
it's definitely much different. So why do you think it is important, especially, the U.S. is much more diverse than it was back in 2000, right? So why is it relevant now that we're even talking about this if things have changed so much?
I think it's important to talk about it because I want people who are on the more Indian side or the more American side to consider this when they do meet somebody who is both. That's important to know that this exists. And for the people who are in the middle, where's the disconnect, right?
Would you say you're in the middle?
I'm
on
in the
that
middle.
Spectrum of both ends?
I hate being called like fully American because I'm not.
Oh, people call you a coconut all the time.
I love like my culture. I want to be considered Indian American. Like I love the fact that I'm American. I love the fact that I'm Indian, and I want people to know that. So if there's like things that people don't know about my culture, about being Indian, about being Hindu, I love telling people about it, like showing what is it about, right? So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of making sure that people know that. And one thing that people struggle with is not speaking up about it.
Yeah, I think if people are naturally curious, right? And I think if people want to know certain things, they should ask, and I would hope that they're not like afraid to ask. They can ask you questions and you can help to give them a good, honest answer about your culture. And you are Indian American, so like you can talk about that. I think people are so afraid to open. Hi, Sylvie. Sylvie joined us. Sylvie feels very strongly and passionate about this topic because she's part of an Indian American household. Hi, kitty. I completely lost my train of thought. Hi, Sylvie. And I think it is important. And again, just with our platform and who you are as a person, I hope that people know that it's okay to be whatever you want, obviously. However, for the people that do struggle and find themselves in the middle of the spectrum and like, oh, my Indian friends say I'm not Indian enough, or like people talk about me, and my white friends say that, oh, I'm too Indian, or that they make fun of certain things in my culture, that there is an in between. And this is that man. He's in between.
Yeah.
He's struggled and dealt with it his entire life. He's had people say all kinds of things to him, and he's learned how to, navigate that. And he is, a good example of somebody that has answers to lots of kinds of questions, even though it's been tough and challenging.
The hardest thing is because I know there's people out there who don't like their specific culture because they don't feel included. So they try and hide it, which is what I did. I tried to hide being Indian when I was in like elementary school or middle school. High school is when I started to be like, wow, no, I'm Indian and I'm proud to be Indian because I met other Indians. And that's what I want to talk about. Representation. So important to surround yourself with people who are different, but also like you, so you can relate on certain things. I don't know how you felt because I guess everyone around you was similar to you. So what happened when people who are different came around? Like me.
Different.
I'm different, Hallie. What happened when a brown boy joined your life?
You joined my life?
Who got introduced in your life?
I mean, yeah, to that point, all my friends were, for the most part, white, Christian, American. That's just who the majority of people were around me. So it's natural that those were the people that I played sports with, that I had a lot of classes with, whatever the situation may be. And so I'm going to be honest, I didn't know anything at all about Indian culture when I first was introduced to you or when you came up and talked to me for the first time, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Hi, Sylvie. She's like, really, she wants food. And we are not going to give her that because it is not her dinner time. Sylvie, we cannot give you FOOD. She knows what we're saying, so we have to spell it out. And I'm whispering for no reason. However, when, the first time that
You met
we
me.
ever talked, I did, like I said, I didn't know anything about Indian culture. And I think it took me time because I know you said that even in high school you started to embrace your Indian side more, but to me it didn't feel like you did.
Yeah.
You were still kind of in that weird in between phase of, or more on the wanting to fit in with the people around you, that you were so very American and like we never talked about any part of your culture till I started asking you. You never brought it up. I started asking you questions, and that was when we really got the conversation started. Because I think a lot of the people that you unfortunately surrounded yourself not a lot of them and not all of them, I'm not going to speak for everybody because you had some good friends in high school, but like those people that you aren't friends with now, I don't think they really helped to embrace the Indian part of you that you are, your culture. I don't think that they really did a great job of asking you questions or respecting that, or they really didn't. I don't know that they were that curious about it.
I think one, okay, this is like crazy because I'm just thinking about this now, and just thinking about like, did anyone ever ask me about being Hindu or being Indian? And like, I'm thinking back and I don't think anybody mentioned the fact that I was like, hey, you're Indian. Like, what, like, tell me about it. Nobody like asked me that. I know that's a weird thing to ask, but it would have been nice.
Yeah, I mean,
nice.
Not like, random person, but like if somebody you're friends with and hangs out, if it's somebody that you hang out with, I feel like at some point, right, they might have been curious. And again, not that they have to ask, but I mean, you would think that somebody that was in your life, somebody that cared about you or claimed they cared about you, they might want to ask those kinds of questions just to get to know you better and who you are and who your family is. And that's interesting that you bring that up. And one thing we were just talking about, because you just got your eyebrows threaded, I remember one thing that you were so ashamed of is that you had a unibrow when you were young.
6th grade, everybody. Very much so a unibrow. Yeah, that wasn't fun.
Well, and you tried to like wipe it off. You want to tell that story?
No, but I'll tell you. It's like so when I was in 6th grade, I had a unibrow and somebody made fun of me for it. And so I went home that night and took like a towel and I was like, okay, I can just scrub off the hair. And so I kept scrubbing and left a scab there. Like I scrubbed so hard that I peeled the skin off. And it was just a very bad situation because guess what? I had 2 sisters, or I had a sister who did threading and she was like, why didn't you just tell me to do it? Like I was so embarrassed to tell her that somebody was saying these things about me, or I didn't want to I didn't want to let my family know that I cared about the way I looked, which is kind of sad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a sucky situation. And when that happened, I went to school the next day. I had a scab on my right where, like in the middle
between your eyes.
Yeah, in between my eyes. And like because I got made fun of the day before, it's like they knew what I tried to do, right?
Aww.
So that sucked.
I would have murdered them.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate to say? I had to control even when I said murdered because I have a lot of intrusive thoughts. If I would have known that person who said that to you, they would not be here today.
Oh man. I wonder what would happen to him.
I wonder. Can't say it on here. That hurts me so bad that at that time, especially in the area that we lived in, it was so not diverse at all. And we were just talking about this today too. So many children are a product of their environment and their parents, and they hear their parents say things, and without thinking, they utter those things to, for example, other kids at their school, right? I mean, like I definitely repeated things my parents said just, because you hear your parents say it and you think it's right. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, which it's hard. And this has even been in the news recently too, like of what's her name? She's on with Tana Mojo. I can't remember her name, but I saw a TikTok about it and I was like, dang. But she had like some really out there racist tweets, things that she was saying, like really insane things that she should not have been putting on social media or voicing at all. And she was like, like I grew up hearing my grandparents say this, like, which is really sad because, again, a lot of kids come to school saying what their parents have said. Mm-hmm. So whoever told you that probably was like, oh, yeah, my parents said this about Indian people and blah, 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 blah. And because our area wasn't diverse at all, like you had a lot of really racist people saying a lot of things. Like I'm sure it was really hard for you after 2001.
Yeah.
Being a child, your family here, I can't imagine.
Yeah, after 2001, it was the whole world kind of, it doesn't matter like if you like, obviously the people who caused the stuff to happen in 2001 were brown. And so anybody who was brown in the US kind of had to pay the consequences of that. And it sucked. Like, yeah. It's like my dad, he got let go from his work because he did work at an airport. I mean, we're Indian, so we were brown. I guess they didn't want anybody brown in the workplace at the time. And so it sucked. And I got to see that. And I didn't think it affected me, but it did. And so that's why like this podcast even exists, because we can talk about these things that a lot of people don't like talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to bring up because I'm sure if you're a member of the Half Past crew and you've had really tough life experiences like this, please comment down below and get a conversation started, because again, that's why we started this platform, this podcast. Yes, to talk about relationships, but to talk about all the other hard things that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And deep down at our core, we are all human. We are all people, and we can connect on so much more if we just push aside our differences and stop being so close-minded. So I think it's important to talk about, because it was, you grew up in a very white area. Mm-hmm. And just to bring that all back, all my friends were majority white. And so when I first met you, I loved hearing about the differences in your culture, and it's so different than mine. Yeah. There's so many unique little tidbits. I mean, yes, there are some similarities at the end of the day with religion and some,
Yeah. No, I agree. The world has changed since we met, like a lot.
It has. I mean, not just since we met.
Yeah.
We're so special. We are special, but
you're right. You're right. I mean, come on. But like the world isn't like, even what you see on TV now is so different. It's so different. It is. Like going and to a movie and seeing like all these Indian actors all of a sudden. Where did that come from? Why couldn't it happen when we were growing up so we could be proud of who we were and see them on the big screen? It makes a difference. It really does make a difference. Seeing, what's his name? Dave Patel freaking direct a movie.
An amazing movie.
And play the main character in an action film, showing his muscles, showing that like Indian people can be strong. Like that's something that isn't shown.
Yeah, that was like often. One of the biggest things that you took away from that movie. You're like, wow, he was in really good shape. And he was in great shape. Yeah. He looked fantastic.
All right, Hallie.
He looked great. I have to appreciate the work that he put into his physique.
Calm down a little bit. All right.
He looked good.
There's just a lot more Indian representation, not just Indian representation, but like everyone.
Yeah.
There's so much more diversity in movies, which is a good thing. I think it's important to show, especially kids who are watching, like to see like almost yourself.
To see someone that looks like them.
It's possible, right? Yeah. Like if they want to be an actor, they can. If they want to be that strong person in that movie, they can be. And I think it's important. So,
and on social media too. Like, I don't know if you've noticed all the influencers now. Like, who just met Michelle Obama? She just hung out with Selena Gomez too. Like, no big deal.
Why can't I think of her name? She's Vidya.
Vidya. Okay. She's on TikTok. She's
huge.
She's doing really freaking cool stuff.
Yeah, her and there's so many different Indian creators that are starting to blow up in this world of content creation, which is awesome.
Well, you have a lot of connections that you've made in the YouTube realm.
Yeah. There's so many.
Shout out.
Shervin Shares. If anybody knows him, he's a fitness YouTuber. He's been, I talked to him for the first time and he kind of showed me like, hey, content creation's possible. And I don't know, it gave me a lot of motivation. So there's so many different people that we got to meet through social media and there's a lot.
Varun.
Yeah, Varun.
Shout out.
Huge creator on TikTok and Instagram, starting the YouTube world. YouTube is hard. And so to be able to go into it, it's awesome. I love seeing more Indian creators. Never Have I Ever.
Oh my gosh.
Great show. Main actor, Indian.
Yeah.
And then we got Miss Marvel.
I love Miss Marvel.
It's a great show. And then there's all these comedians that are coming out. Why is like every comedian on my TikTok feed that are just Indian now?
So, okay, let me just say the first Indian comedian that I saw was Hassan. Okay.
Hassan Minhaj.
Hassan Minhaj.
Yeah.
Hassan. Okay, I always say his first name wrong. I'm embarrassed of that. But I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about him because a lot of people say he does not represent the Indian community well.
Yeah. I think that's because he like made up some of his jokes, but I don't know. He's funny. I don't know. I think it's pretty good.
He's like gotten into some movies and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I will say my favorite Indian comedian is Akash Singh.
Akash Singh is hilarious.
He's so funny.
Kumail Nanjiani, he was a comedian and then just blew up.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah. Was he in
He's in Eternals.
Big Sick?
Wait, is that what it's called? Oh, yeah.
Is he in the Big Sick?
Yeah.
Oh my
he's the
God.
main guy.
Yeah, that was the
Heartbreaking
first
movie
we watched with him in it.
Yeah, he's been in many others, but that was the first with him that we watched.
And man, oh man, did that destroy us.
Uh-huh.
That made us cry.
You destroyed us, Kumail. Thank you.
We got some people who don't represent us well. Us Indians, very well. Let me give you an example. Mindy Kaling. Everybody hates on her. I respect that she is creating as much as she does.
She was one of the first Indian women that I ever saw. She was in the office. Yeah.
And she's great. She's fantastic. But, like things like Never Have I Ever, even though we love the show, there is like certain things that are a little over the board, So she directed that show, and there are certain things that I guess are stereotypical and people don't like that, right?
Okay, like what?
I can't think of an example right now.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
But
put you on blast.
There were a few like stereotypical things about being an Indian girl in high school. And so like I think people didn't like that. That's why I'm like, she's still all right. Like I think the fact that she's creating and it's in the space of Hollywood is fantastic for all Indian creators.
I thought the show was great. I loved especially
a
lot of the Indian events that they had and the attire, the clothes that Devi wore. And it was really good. I liked it. I mean, I think for, a white person watching it, I thought it did a good job of representing. However, you have your own opinion.
Priyanka Chopra, apparently everybody hates her.
I don't like her as a person.
Every Indian person that I've ever met hates Priyanka Chopra.
Listen, I gave her a chance, and then I've seen multiple now interviews with her, and I'm like, no.
You can't tell who a person is just by an interview.
I know, but she's so full of herself. I just have a hard time liking people who are so full of themselves. And yeah, I don't know. She's, for whatever reason, she's been on my feed a lot recently. And, I was a big fan when her and Nick Jonas got married because I was like, woo!
Interracial couple.
Yeah. Loved it. Loved their wedding. It was gorgeous. It was very over the top. Remember that veil photo? Does anybody remember that? Like how it was like a football field.
It was a little too much, to be honest.
And that, I feel like, perfectly encapsulates who she is as a person. I don't know. I remember back in the day, Call Her Daddy used to hate on Priyanka Chopra. So they used to hate on her and Nick Jonas, whatever. And then Alex Cooper had her on Call Her Daddy like a year ago, maybe. In her interview, I was like, yeah, this isn't really helping her case for me. For me. I don't know. Let me know what you think, because I'm not the biggest Priyanka Chopra fan. Like, she just, again, I don't think she's the greatest actress in the world. Okay. Like, her work in Baywatch, mid. Low to mid. Mid to low.
Yeah,
Okay. Not
the
great.
best. She's in Quantico, and she did a good job. It's there.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a good thing that we have these Indian actors, creators in the space that give other people who want to be in the space an opportunity.
You know who I just thought of?
Who?
And I don't know that he's Indian, so I'm not going to say that, but Just Rain. He's
Just Rain is Indian.
Okay. His content, fantastic.
I wish he would come back. I think he is coming back, but not on YouTube. He was
Really?
fantastic. Just Rain is like my childhood because that's what was on YouTube, and he was hilarious.
He's so much better than Lily Singh.
I don't know too much about Lily Singh. I just know that she was making great content, and then all of a sudden, I think there's a lot of like buying out into different areas that she wanted to go towards, and that kind of broke apart some of the stuff that she was representing and working on. But yeah, overall, yeah, they're great.
They're great.
Yeah.
We still go back and watch Just Rain videos. a lot.
To be honest, Just Rain, Kev Jumba, these Asian creators are the people that are like, wow, they're doing it. Why can't I do it? And so that's like when I first started like messing around with cameras, messing around with like editing equipment, editing software, and just like figuring it out. So it's a good thing that these people are out there because that gives them an opportunity to kind of get in the space.
So Suketu, to wrap this all up, how can you embrace your culture, both sides of it?
Mm-hmm.
And what advice do you have to somebody who's kind of confused in their identity? Like, who do I become? Do I conform to anything? Do I stay true to myself? My people will come to me. What advice do you have?
The best thing you can do, is make sure that if you feel like you're turned down by either side, like let's say your Indian counterparts or whatever it may be, don't like stand for that. Like speak up for yourself. Be like, yeah, no, I don't know that much Gujarati. That's because I have been here for a long time, but I still try and learn the best I can. And I think that kind of shows like, hey, no, this person isn't just here to like not learn and figure out the right context of things. Because that's what I did. Like, I just didn't care, didn't learn what I needed to. And then I was like, wow, no, I want to know when somebody asks me, what does this mean? Like, what does this holiday mean to you? I need to know that answer. I want to know that answer. And so, like, I did the research. I figured it out. I asked my parents. I asked my sisters. I asked Google. Everybody, there's Google out there. It's fantastic. And I figured it out. And it made me understand a lot more of who I was as an Indian person and as an American person, because I know the American side of things. Like, and I did my time in terms of research. I married a white woman. Helped me a lot to understand the American side of things.
Hey, back at you.
Yeah, it helps. It helps everybody, and that's why we're here today. That's my advice. Don't marry a white person if you don't want to, though.
Okay. Well, hello. That's going like, come on.
But yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, I think that's great because a lot of people can go through life feeling confused. Like, for example, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, but our friend who's been on the podcast, Alex, he has said many, many times before he's Wasian. So he identifies as white Asian. Like, his mom is white American. His dad is from Taiwan. And he's like, dude, I don't know where I fit in. Like, the Asian community says I'm not Asian enough. Like, my white friends like make fun of me or like say that I'm not white enough. Like, where do I stand? And so I think it's important because obviously we have so many people in the world. There are so many people who go through this situation and are like, where do I fit in? Like, what is my life? I'm so confused. Like, these people aren't accepting me. So what do I do?
I'd love to know everybody's thoughts on this specific topic, but also like something we need to talk about. Maybe we'll do in the future, and we'll have somebody on. It's going to be like people who are not Indian American. They're just Indian, like full on. They just came here to study or whatever it may be.
Full on.
Yeah, full on Indian. And they're those people who do that, people who are like full on just Indian or Asian who haven't been in America for 24 years like I have been in. And that's a whole nother struggle to be incorporated within the American world, I guess. And so that's something that we're thinking about. So if you guys would be interested in something like that, let us know in the comments down below.
And all the issues that people have had with visas and education and all those things. So we know people for that. We think that would be a great episode. And we think people could learn a lot from it.
Now, for the best part of the episode, everybody. Question of the week.
So sorry. Every week, he just goes at it. He goes ham.
I do.
She goes ham.
I go super duper ham.
Sylvie's staring at me like she wants to kill me.
This is a question that somebody asked. How has Hallie adapted to all the different holidays that Indians celebrate? For example, Raksha Bandhan. We got Holi, Diwali, all these holidays. They just want to know like how Hallie has celebrated them, has learned about them, and yeah, just for an example, I think this question is really good for people who want their friends who aren't Indian, who are not Indian, who have never celebrated these holidays. Like, how can they help celebrate them with them? But also, like, how did you go about learning about the holidays?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that your family right off the bat incorporated me into things, and they were really good about educating me and telling me what this means and what that means and why you do this and what this, like, for example, Raksha Bandhan just happened last week. Still got these on, bad boy, bling bling. Oh,
Bling bling.
bling bling. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is making sure that everybody's kind of on board and that, like if I'm going to something for the first time with you, making sure that you kind of explain to people like, hey, she's never been before. Like, could you help me explain? Like, I'm going to do the best I can, but I want you to chime in as well. And we can really give her the full experience and she can understand why we do this and what this means and why this happens at this time of year and that sort of thing. So I think it's important just to have, be willing to ask questions as well. It's really fun partaking in something that's different that I have to learn about, and I think it is really beautiful incorporating somebody who's so new because you get to share, like you, for example, get to share your experiences in the past with me. And now I understand it. And so you can tell me these stories. And it's just a really beautiful bonding experience.
I think everyone on both sides, like, whenever I had questions to you, like, what is Easter? Like, is it really about a bunny? Like, is that what it's all about? It's apparently not about a bunny, everybody.
No
and so
way.
Just asking these questions to your significant others is so important. Not just significant others, but your friends. Like, just to find out more information on it, right? It's so useful just to know why these people are taking a full day to celebrate something, right?
Yeah, just
That's
asking.
it's
Just be
important.
curious. I think that's the biggest takeaway in life is just be curious.
Be curious.
In life and for this question. Be
Yeah.
curious because it will get you places and it will create deeper connections with people. And it's just a really good thing to always be wondering what else.
Thank you for asking the question, Nick Patel. They just got engaged.
Congratulations!
31 Indian and 28 American. That's awesome. Fantastic.
That is amazing.
Love the interracial
Congratulations.
couples out there.
Thank you so much for spending your Monday with us.
A reminder, we have a website. Go to www.halfpastshot.com, submit your own questions, and to read the blog. It comes out on
Sunday at 12 p.m.
Sunday at 12 p.m. Half Past Crew, we love you. We thank you for your support. We're so excited to continue growing this community. And as always, we will see you next Monday at Half Past Cha.
And just a little special announcement from my side. When we hit 5K subs on YouTube, we will be announcing the next launch date for our merch.
Woo!
Is it this one?
Let's go!
Or no, wait, this one.
Yeah.
Who's excited? I'm excited. I'm so excited. Go comment on the blog post. You already know. I love you. I love you.